What's going on, skiers, snowboarders, and ski lift fans? You know my name, and you're watching a ranking of Park City's lifts. This is my first ever voiceover video, so let me know what you like about it and what I can change. Park City is no ordinary resort, boasting 7,300 acres of skiable terrain with 36 ski lifts. Located in the state of Utah, less than an hour from Salt Lake City, Park City has a little something for every skill and ability level. This and other lift rankings put lifts on a tier list as a more equitable way of ranking lifts. I believe in almost any case, there is no single worst lift or single best lift. There are just qualities that make a lift more desirable. As a side note, I have not ridden every single lift at Park City, so anytime you see credit for footage in this video, that is an indication. I don't want to constantly be repeating I did not ride this lift. This list also does not include Eaglet, as it never ran on my trip, nor has it run in years, and has since been removed. This is going to be a long one, so let's dive right in. Three Kings. This lift is a 2011 Doppelmayr triple, which services mainly terrain parks. The lift is relatively short and with a loading carpet runs faster, resulting in a quick ride time. Park City is known for world-class terrain parks, which this lift provides a solid setup for taking repeat runs through here. This lift will be placed in B tier. Bonanza Express. This lift is a 1997 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed 6-pack. It services as part of an out-of-base route, accessible from Payday Express and Town Lift, and required to ride for getting back to the Summit House and upper mountain areas at the Park City side of the resort. This creates a major choke point on this lift, resulting in very long lines, which have only gotten worse since I've been to Park City. Bonanza Express, therefore, is a very undesirable lift, but at least it services some terrain for several ability levels, mainly beginners and intermediates. This puts the lift in F tier. Cabriolet. This lift is a 2000 Garaventa C-Tech Cabriolet, hence the name. It runs from parking lots at the canyon side of the resort and accesses the canyons village. There are no trails that lead to the bottom of this lift, meaning you will only ride this lift twice a day, if at all, to travel from and back to your vehicle. I was unable to ride this lift and don't know what the crowds can be like, but this lift is still a useful link and most likely faster than taking a shuttle bus. Though skiable terrain, not likely to ride this lift more than twice, but useful nonetheless. This has the lift going to D tier. Crescent Express. This lift is a Doppelmayr C-Tech 2008 high-speed quad. It is an out-of-base lift on the Park City side of the resort, and as a result becomes a bottleneck alongside other nearby lifts for people getting on the mountain. However, the lift does clear out after an hour or two. The terrain on this lift consists of a few blues but many black diamonds. All these trails, however, end up on the wide and flat Home Run Trail, a green run that attracts many beginners, and because of how many runs filter into Home Run, this trail often becomes a huge mess. Skiing some extent of this trail is required to reach the bottom of Crescent Express, so while the steep trails on this lift are fun, the flat run out isn't so much. This puts the lift in C tier. Daybreak. This lift is a 2001 Yan triple. This lift is mostly a real estate access lift for the colony on the canyon side of the resort and doesn't serve many trails of interest, only a few blues. If you're into skiing over and under active roads and between large mansions, you may find it enjoyable. Nothing more to say, this is a lift that exists. It goes in D tier. Dreamcatcher. This lift is a Doppelmayr C-Tech 2006 quad. It starts about halfway down the trail connecting the Quicksilver Gondola to the base of Iron Mountain Express and ends next to Dreamscape. The terrain off this lift consists of steep glades, black runs, and a few blues on the upper section, and real estate with mellower runs on the lower section. The runs alone make this a desirable lift and are longer than other runs in the colony. The lift, however, is a 10-minute ride, making the runs less fun to get repeat laps on. This lift is a B tier. Dreamscape. This lift is a 2000 Garaventa C-Tech quad. Starting next to Daybreak, the lift runs by a few roads and mansions. However, the upper lift line is unobstructed and feels more like an ordinary resort area. The terrain is all intermediate, with the upper section steeper than the lower section of the lift. The isolated feel and general lack of crowds make this not too bad of a lift. I put it in C tier. Eagle. This lift is a 1993 Garaventa C-Tech Triple. It runs from the Park City base to the top of the ridge where King Kong Express is accessible. When open to the public, the lift serves exclusively black diamonds. However, these runs are often closed for race training. This makes the terrain completely inaccessible, and it becomes purely for out-of-base traffic. Eagle was planned to be replaced by a high-speed 6-pack to address the morning crowds in the Park City base. However, construction was halted by the town of Park City before even starting, and the 6-pack that was coming in has now been redirected to replace a lift at Whistler Blackcomb Ski Resort in British Columbia, Canada. This lift gets an F tier. First Time Express. This lift is a 2004 Doppelmayr C-Tech high-speed quad. It serves as a beginner lift with a large bunny slope on the Park City side of the resort. On a lesser note, this lift also is an access lift to Crescent Express and Payday Express, which start at the base but otherwise require hiking to reach because of how far above the parking lots they start. Having a high-speed lift servicing first-time skiers, hence the name of this lift, makes it easier for learning and is a better experience overall. Even though most people aren't going to ride this lift, it serves its purpose very well. You don't often see such nice lifts serving small beginner slopes. The lift gets an A tier. Flatiron. This lift is a 2009 Thiokol double. It runs from the colony, over roads and by mansions. None of the trails on this lift ski back to the base of this lift and require riding 1 or 2 more lifts. In fact, this lift is completely flat, hence the name, with only 4 vertical feet. Upon boarding the lift, there are 3 unloading stations, each serving a blue run. The lift can also be ridden in the other direction, where one can unload in 2 places. This lift is easily avoidable, hence why it doesn't receive very much ridership. When you arrive at the base of this lift, you must ride it, as the trail leading to this lift ends there. While not being a lift of interest, it still serves a useful link from Dreamcatcher and Dreamscape lifts to the Quicksilver Gondola. That puts it in D tier. Frostwood Gondola. This lift is a 2008 Doppelmayr C-Tech Pulse Gondola. This is a type of ropeway where the cabins are fixed to the hull rope and run slowly in the terminals to allow for easy loading. However, once they leave the terminals, the ropeway is sped up to allow the cabins to travel quickly to the top. The lift itself serves a run leading down to it, unlike the nearby Cabriolet, although the run doesn't show up on the trail map and has variable conditions due in part to the low elevation. This is not a very interesting or desirable run, and it likely doesn't receive regular grooming. The only important things the lift serves are condos in the area and a bus stop. Unless you're staying in the condos or use the bus stop, you will likely never ride this lift. It gets an F tier. Meadow Express. This lift is a 2018 Doppelmayr high-speed quad. It starts next to Saddleback Express at the top of the Red Pine Gondola, serving a beginner slope. The lift is similar to First Time Express, bringing high-speed lift service to a beginner slope. However, this lift is prone to crowding and saw insane lines while I was on the canyon side of the resort. Though this may not be a common occurrence, I can't give this lift as high a ranking as First Time Express. A beginner should not have to wait in a long line. This puts it in C tier. Iron Mountain Express. This lift is a 2010 Doppelmayr high-speed quad. It serves mostly blue runs, a few blacks, and some advanced glade areas. Even though this is the main access to the Quicksilver Gondola from the canyon side of the resort, the lift generally doesn't receive too much crowding. In addition, the isolation from other resort areas, especially the colony which it sits near to, makes this a fun area of the mountain to spend time at. The orange chairs are also a nice addition that give the area a little theming. This lift receives an S tier. Jupiter. This lift is a 1976 Yan double. It starts far away from other resort areas, so not only does it feel isolated, but it is physically as well. The only way to reach this lift is from a long flat traverse, from the top of Pioneer and Thaynes, so many people who ride this lift don't find it by accident, which generally keeps the crowds away. The lift itself serves double black runs, an array of bowls, tight glades, cliffs, and more. The slow ride time and low capacity also works in the terrain's favor, lessening how much the snow is skied off. In addition, this lift is the highest lift at Park City, reaching a summit elevation of 9,998 feet. Not only a good place for expert skiers, but this lift is also very isolated. This puts it in S tier. King Khan Express. This lift is a 2015 Doppelmayr high-speed 6-pack. It serves almost exclusively intermediate terrain near the base of the Park City side of the resort, due to how out of the way it is from other mountain areas and only providing uphill access to nearby Eagle and Silverstar lifts. This makes the lift less crowded in general. The lift has a lot of trails to explore. In addition, this lift also has a loading carpet, which doesn't help it run faster like Three Kings, but makes loading easier. The only downside of this lift is the flat outrun required at the bottom of each run, due to the lift running diagonally up the ridge. Otherwise, this is a good spot to spend some time in. This lift gets an A tier. McConkey's Express. This lift is a 1998 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed 6-pack. It serves one blue run, two blacks, and several expert areas, including a hike to the summit of Jupiter Peak, the highest inbounds point at Park City. Despite having a lot of expert terrain, there is a catch. It has become a running theme for Park City's lifts to have runouts, and McConkey's may have the longest yet. Don't end up on the Spider Monkey Trail. It is narrow and gets crowded despite the smaller number of crowds McConkey's Express gets. Still, it is one of the highest lifts at Park City, which already gives it a little isolation from the base area, and having high-speed lift service to expert terrain is very welcome. The lift gets a B tier. Motherlode Express. This lift is a 2015 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad. This lift is very similar to King Khan Express, running up the ridgeline diagonally, and serving runs which all require a long runout. However, Motherlode's trails are more advanced and expert-oriented. This lift also does not see very much crowding, as one does not have to ride this lift upon arriving and can ski farther down Thaynes Canyon. In general, the runouts to the bottom of this lift are longer than on King Khan. However, the more advanced trails and glades are still quite fun. This puts the lift in A tier. 9990 Express. This lift is a 1998 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad. As seen on the Park City trail map, this lift serves exclusively double black trails only. As you may have been able to guess, this comes with the running theme that all of these runs are followed by flat outruns. In this case, however, these runs aren't completely flat and do feature some steeper sections comparable to a black diamond, though they still aren't double black diamond by any measure. This lift runs to the highest lift serve point at Park City by a detachable lift. While this lift's expert terrain isn't quite up to par with Jupiter, it's still very notable to have a high-speed lift on expert terrain, as you don't see that very often. This has the lift going into S tier. Orange Bubble Express. This lift is a 2010 Doppelmayr C-Tech high-speed quad. It is a rare lift from North America, sporting orange bubbles on the chairs, which protect from the elements, and in addition, the seats are heated. The lift provides us one out-of-base option from the canyon side of the resort. The lift features a mid-unloading station at the top of Lookout Peak, which serves all the runs in this area. These consist of blues, blacks, and a bull. Above the mid-unload, you can access Sun Peak and Super Condor lifts, or Saddleback and Tombstone lifts. Because of both the access to upper mountain lifts and decent terrain, this lift tends to generate very long lines, often throughout the day. Even so, this lift has a lot to like, and the orange bubbles are a very unique and defining characteristic. This lift gets a B tier. Over and out. This lift is a 2019 Skytrack quad. Park City seems to have a lot of lifts that are not designed for spending time on, and this one is no exception. Starting from the base of Tombstone Express and ending just above the top of Sunrise, this lift provides direct access to the canyon's village base without riding the congested Tombstone Express to the Red Pine Gondola. The lift does not serve any terrain, and in fact the entire lift line is out of bounds of the ski resort. Likely, you will only ride this lift once or twice, depending on how often you go to the canyon's village. The usefulness of this lift only goes so far, and it only mildly helps the crowds on Tombstone. That puts it in F tier. Payday Express. This lift is a 1997 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed 6-pack. Like nearby Crescent Express, this lift experiences long lines at the start of the day. The terrain exists of a few beginner options and several more intermediate and advanced options. Also, like Crescent Express, most of the runs filter into the crowded and flat home run trail. Only a few blue runs filter onto this run towards the bottom of it. The lift has a few unique features, one being a mid-station for summer operations, and the other being the town lift crossing over it towards the top. This lift is best suited as an end-of-day lift for getting the last couple of runs in while the crowds are at a minimum. This lift gets a C tier. Peak 5. This lift is a 1999 Garaventa C-Tech quad. This lift starts next to 9990 Express and accesses Dreamscape and Daybreak. The lift services a few blue runs and a bunch of advanced and expert glades, including the very technical glade, the Abyss. The glades in this area are generally low traffic and are an enjoyable spot to spend time in. Despite the lift being fixed grip, the ride time isn't too bad. This lift gets put in B tier. Pioneer. This lift is a 1984 C-Tech triple. It starts next to the base of McConkey's Express and runs up to the summit of the Home Run Trail, the highest green run on the Park City side of the resort. Not only this, but Pioneer also serves some blue trails, black trails, and an expert bowl, in addition to some advanced glade terrain. The real drawback here is the long ride time, and like McConkey's Express, this lift generally has long runouts on most of its trails. Good for some, maybe not so desirable for others. This lift goes to C tier. Quicksilver Gondola. This lift is a 2015 Doppelmayr gondola. It is the sole connection lift between Park City and the canyon sides of the resort, and hence is a required ride when transferring between mountain areas. This makes it basically the ultimate choke point lift, and it often generates long lines, especially at the end of the day when people are trying to get back to their appropriate starting points. While mostly being a transit lift, it does still serve some terrain, all accessible from the lift summit mid-station. 2 blue runs lead into the colony on the canyon side of the resort and are directly skiable, but the bigger draw here is the expert terrain on Pinecone Ridge. From the mid-station, one can access a hike that goes up the ridge, serving an endless number of expert glades and bowls. Some areas don't even require hiking to reach. The big drawback to these runs is that none of them lead back to the gondola. Because the gondola spans over Thaynes Canyon, the Park City terminal is above the canyon on the other side, whereas the runs end at the base of the canyon, so another lift ride is necessitated to reach the gondola again for another run. While feeling like an unfinished temporary link to connect Park City to canyons, this lift still proves itself against others. This puts it in B tier. Red Pine Gondola. This lift is a 1997 Palma gondola. It runs from the Canyons Village base near Orange Bubble Express to the Red Pine Lodge at the base of Saddleback and Meadow Express. This lift does not directly serve any terrain as it spans over the namesake Red Pine Canyon, and it is impossible to reach the bottom station from the top by only skiing. The sole purpose of this lift is to provide a route out of the base and back to the base area. Just like Orange Bubble Express, this lift can generate long lines that last all day, making this lift one you might want to avoid. That lands it in D tier. Saddleback Express. This lift is a 1997 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad. It serves several blue trails, several black trails, and some advanced glade terrain. The lift, alongside Meadow Express, generates some very long lines, lasting all day as this lift is somewhat of a choke point. The glades, called the aspens and the pines, are a unique combo, one featuring only aspen trees and the other only pine trees. However, little can justify the crowds this lift gets. It's heading into C tier. Shortcut. This lift is a 1997 Yan Triple. It doesn't directly serve any terrain, as per the running theme at Park City. It starts at the bottom of a short trail below the Red Pine Gondola and ends at the Orange Bubble Express mid-station. It's used as a quick way to get out of the Red Pine area without having to take Saddleback Express or going all the way back to the Canyons Village base. When looking at the trail map, the name suits this lift very well. A useful lift, generally not ever crowded, but not a lift you'll ride very much. This lift gets put in D tier. Silverlode Express. This lift is a 1997 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed 6-pack. It runs from the Park City terminal of the Quicksilver Gondola to the Summit House, being one of only 2 lifts to reach the upper mountain of Park City, alongside Bonanza Express. This means the lift gets very long lines throughout the day. The terrain under this lift is mainly intermediate and advanced, with 1 green run and without any long runouts, which makes this a more desirable lift than at least 50% of the other lifts at Park City. Still, the insane crowds really make it a difficult choice. This lift goes into C tier. Silverstar. This lift is a 2006 Garaventa C-Tech triple. It starts at the base of the Silverstar village and surrounding condos and runs to a point just above the base of King Khan Express. The lift only serves 2 trails, one blue and one black. Chances are you're never going to ride this lift because it's mostly for access to the resort from the Silverstar village. Nothing much to say here. This lift goes to F tier. Sun Peak Express. This lift is a 1997 Doppelmayr high-speed quad. The lift serves a couple of intermediate trails, including the wide-open trail Eclipse, and a few black diamonds and advanced glades. Even though this is the main get-back lift from Super Condor Express to Tombstone and Saddleback lifts, the traverse back to it is easy to miss, and Super Condor starts lower than Sun Peak Express, so most people end up filtering all the way to the Canyons Village base. This means that this lift does not get a ton of crowds and makes it a good spot to spend time at. The only thing that really holds back this lift is how short it is compared to other lifts, though many people may find that an enjoyable aspect. That puts it in A tier. Sunrise. This lift is a 2003 Garaventa C-Tech double. It serves one blue run and only really serves as real estate access to the Canyons Village. Once again, unless you're staying around this lift, you're never going to ride this lift. It doesn't reach high enough to leave the canyon space. However, this lift has plans for replacement with a second gondola to address and alleviate crowds at the Canyons Village. This gondola would leave the base and end next to the current red Pine Gondola. Until then, this lift goes nowhere, so it's very useless. That has this lift going to F tier. Super Condor Express. This lift is a 1998 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad. It runs the entire length of Super Condor Ridge, serving a couple of blue runs, several black diamonds, many double black diamond runs, and a hike to an expert bull area, and more expert trails. Not only that, but this lift has the longest vertical rise of any lift in all of Park City, at 1,798 feet. The lift also doesn't receive very much crowding, which makes it an excellent choice for getting in some very long cruiser runs, or hitting some solid expert terrain, and even expert glade terrain. This all easily puts this lift in S tier. Thaynes. This lift is a 1975 Yan double. It is the other way of accessing Jupiter, as well as serving the top of Home Run. Unlike other nearby lifts in the area, the lift doesn't run diagonally up the ridge, and in general, the runs don't have any flat runout. In terms of terrain, Thaynes is more advanced oriented, with only a few blue runs. Although the lift and runs are short, this isn't a bad spot for some short black runs, and generally this lift isn't too crowded. That makes this lift a B tier. Timberline. This lift is a 2008 Doppelmayr C-Tech quad. As a part of the lifts that don't directly serve terrain, this one doesn't serve any terrain, period, as you must ride another lift after this one to even start skiing again. However, this lift is even more special, as it falls in a small category of lifts you can ride in both directions. You're more likely to ride this lift at least once or twice, as it's the quickest way to access Tombstone and Iron Mountain from each other. Probably more of an annoyance than a convenience, but useful nonetheless in that regard. This lift heads over to D tier. Tombstone Express. This lift is a 2006 Doppelmayr C-Tech high-speed 6-pack. It runs from the base of Timberline and over and out to the top of the ridge it serves. The terrain consists of several blue runs, several more black runs, and a ton of glade terrain. The lift is also quite long, with a lot of vertical rise, so these tend to be long runs and an endless amount of glade. The downside here, as you may have guessed by now, is the crowding. Tombstone Express is the only lift that accesses 9990 Express and Peak 5, as well as being the only way back to the Red Pine Lodge directly from any mountain area south of it. Before Over and Out was constructed, Tombstone Express was the only way back to the Canyons Village base area. This makes this lift one of the most crowded lifts at Park City. However, these crowds tend to take some time to form, and if you come to Tombstone early in the morning, you can get a solid couple of runs in before the lines really start to get bad. Excellent terrain, but until the crowds are addressed, this lift can't score very high. This gets the lift in B tier. Town. This lift is a 1985 C-Tech triple. As the name implies, it starts in the town of Park City, running over roads and in between buildings. The lift drops you off near the base of Bonanza Express, but you also have the option to ski down to the base of Park City. The lift serves a few trails, and while they are cool to ski into the town on, especially the skier bridge over the road, they really aren't very special. Not only that, but this lift is one of the longest lifts at Park City, which is saying a lot for a fixed grip. This results in a 15-minute ride time, the longest on any lift at Park City, making this lift a one-time hit if at all. As cool as it is, this lift is a bit more of a novelty lift, rather than being enjoyable or at least practical. This puts the lift in D tier. Now that we have gone through every lift at Park City, and given them a rank, let's do a final recap of where the lifts stand. There are no lifts in Z tier, which is good. In F tier, we have Bonanza Express, Eagle, Frostwood Gondola, Over and Out, Silverstar, and Sunrise. In D tier, we have Cabriolet, Daybreak, Flatiron, Red Pine Gondola, Shortcut, Timberline, and Town. In C tier, we have Crescent Express, Dreamscape, Meadow Express, Payday Express, Pioneer, Saddleback Express, and Silverlode Express. In B tier, we have Three Kings, Dreamcatcher, McConkey's Express, Orange Bubble Express, Peak 5, Quicksilver Gondola, Thaynes, and Tombstone Express. In A tier, we have First Time Express, King Kong Express, Motherlode Express, and Sun Peak Express. In S tier, the best tier, we have Iron Mountain Express, Jupiter, 9990 Express, and Super Condor Express. Park City has a lot to offer, and the only things holding it back are crowding and weird lift logistics. It may not be the best destination resort, but it holds its own against others and can still be fun if you can avoid the lines. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like so other people can see it as well. For more ski lift content, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can see uploads as soon as they come out. Anyways, you know my name, and this has been a ranking of Park City's lifts. Oh, and if you're wondering how I would rate the lifts from worst to best, this is how. It's a pretty long list. Yeah, just keep going. But yeah, this is how I'd rate it. Basically the same as the tier list, but some lifts are swapped around, and yeah. Super Condor's number 1. Okay, anyways, that's the end of the video. See you around. Thanks for watching.